what's up guys? I hope we are project review for MGO. CandyDrop MGO. So let's start our today's video. MGO network is a layer 1 with a multi BM chains and instructions for primarily additions and multi-panes and points such classifications for most appeared and liquidities for buildings and efficient blockchain network. Then geofficial storage taking reward 8 crore for 8 crore 4 lakhs MGO tokens. I tokens staked MGO price pool holding cap 25,000 MGO mining period 14 days and individuals holding cap to 2,500 MGO and appeared 1913.83 and to struck 13 15 crore fund 5 lakhs 5 lakhs 6,265.96 MGO. My staking MGO, the master reward and collective rewards MGO. Total and total staking reward 8 crore MGO total staking. And price pool 1000 ETH and price pool holy cap 23809 and individuals holy cap 238095. And individuals holy cap MGO ne paired appeared 3.62%. So we are white paper. We are see the white papers. Mango networks, multi BMs, chains and transmissions network, abstract in responses and multi-panes and points such as the fremicatex and experience and liquidity issues and the Web3 applications and DeFi protocols. Mango on-chains proposed multi-BM spool chains and inspections network and solution as layer of most it instructions abstraction of strict and blockchain networks and that support of chains cross chains and communication the multi-BM chains and the its commissions multi-BMs series choices modulators and the freight over to 2 crore 97 TPS TPES and the certifications applications such non-concipient and declines game face strokings and experience concert and freedoms within the Web3 ecosystem then aims and Web 3.0 public change and leader move in change background in 2019. And global curriculum labor stored and the focus labor brands and teams dim left and that behind the elevations and legalities and move like it address at the short framings and solidarity and BA and EBM and as low as the divided public stance and teams move league is resources and bread as introductions globals for chains and the digitals as currently project levers and the totally tried and focus and liberties for most networks and libras and the dim teams and life behind the bibliography and the legacies and more language address the short films and the shortbait list and EBM and the as well as आणि इच्छा लाईफ पण मी सिलेक्ट केली आणि and address EBMs will as debated public chains and from the language and rest and cycloid move ligations and the aims provided high performance for most and blockchains appearance and applications for and programmers language and designs disaggregated digital assist and advantage move serious public chains and BN assist and deliberations and that tokens with most and assist rotated their force and move on has correctly resources behind the chains and assist separatist move language layers and the securities and thousands and the developers allowing the contract and most appear in likes for appear in and change defeats and the sign give a speech and characters moves on likes for move on aims and provided the secures and applications moderately and the distributed applications the core ideas and the moves language is to probe down complex programmers and the programmers in multi-phase models and the effectiveness reducing and complexity lowering and probability is promise and the programming mango the mango programming assist and fast class resources fast class resources the move and languages appcast for receives and preferences to appear in the store belt and easily find type of resources and the sacrifice will be stored and in a most and prevents makings for most and decided makings and the only can demand it for most resources as begins to appear most in and located between and most as storage for in in between and the storage locations FreeText and SimFace emulators and the resources for most spendings attacks and most and restricted and the move on language the state users strictly and which are the security problems and dynamic calls in change network capabilities. The move on VM in virtual machines and the sandbox for the move of programming language is and a language without contracts for most and BM's contracts for most and state primarily is looted and through the interest for most applications and languages for most formals and Brigade is approved the securities and the programmer from previously mentioned and the sandbox for most security engine specifications the flexibilities moves and replications and in the abilities and freely combines and various transplications and through transplication sacrifice and achieves different functions and the where the sacrifice script and the can improve multiplies and transplications by using generations of programming move issues and scalabilities of the contracts increase code and stabilities mango the contract and composabilities and the compositions move language moves on the designs and modulus upgrades and the optimize the modulus enables and all others users for most such and modulus and automatically used for most appearance and upgradings the most and language stuff and gets to writings the block and the smart contracts for most and appearance and smart contracts it has been configurated and the current and most and the main of results is smart move provides and the more fittings and handles of the core tokens and assist blockings and compositions and the securities the correctly publics for most provides and move languages in the stage sincerities and the experience and interactions most developments can bring situations and optimize bring to synchronations and most more appearance and the two restrictions publics cannot be become for most the technical difference solubilities versus move the transposition bitcoin script and the ethereum capabilities and the solutions and ultimately been successful to appear most believe how to ensure and to defeat and insurance for the insures and the security of the on-chains and assist had become needs to face and to behind this vulnerabilities and the consumer list and the supplications improvements and unrestless designs and flaws and unlike and previous development experience and defeats applications that's because of last financial system that have exponentialities and high security ecosystems and regulated and language for most appeared in like move a better choice. And turning points from to appears in safely turning completely yes then safely for very good and developer friendly yes the restricted strengths no yes emergencies ability for good and flexibilities dynamic mobilizations greening programming the financial scenes and instruments no yes oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah have been operance urgently solid artists snitics and experience methods are conflicts and traditional object oriented and programs in language from most languages like the Java have become the best choice for the moves and developers create and the Ethereum's contracts and however due to complex to solvabilities and the developers and untils and associates and most understand is scientific and there are code and security vulnerabilities in solubilities and is also major weakness for the competitivist and the may of securities and valuations and solely due to improvers and users so developers and most solubilities and slowly stills and the challenge streams for most and the first performance and solubilities and the comfort to reliabilities simplest programming language like Python and still needs improvements for most with the growth of the Ethereums and that list also a continuous increases for most as important issues and solubilities will effective and the overall operations and issues for most effectless items and thereby for most and the optional experience and the overall security of the most and as the smart contract development language and Ethereum and powerful each and not perfect. Mango programmers and the models and resources of optimates and the programming and the Mango has been and the serious the biggest in states for financial socials and gaming scenarios and introductions recruited unoperated programming for common seniors such NFTs and NFT. Mango moves for most and defense data as resources and the data security and the virtual machines level. Pure static language, dynamic and for great distance for most solvently and all cross and contact in ventures as simply most appear in and in breaks and for such and inflected throats and dynamic defeated and it is also intimately for mass securities vulnerabilities and such as the DDoS attack The real experience absolutely mango moves on adopts completely. Real experience of most and bit lolly crows and exchange and attacks to so on givens and real experience for most absolutely mango moves and adopts a completely pure stick for most mango adopts and completely pure stick and implications for most and bit better issues and security of change and assist formal verifications and the formal verifications also known as B formal verification refer to use and the format mathematical tools and analysis possible previews of the designs and the Rethas coming confidence sacrifice values for most and prove the mechanicals and the methods and distribute storage in your areas with 30 users and the declines manners and of the throws maps and when the contract has obligations and the creditors for owners like and giving distributions and stored with this data solidly and declines maps and when the contracts has blueprints and the correct owners and permissions for users data compressed and the mango moves and libellies and resources for most appeared in increasing both and data securities and true ownership and every data securities and ownership data is day by all and the network nodes and greenings and programming for security reasons in in for security reasons and the moves on has been decisions has a fairly struct and language but it has not reduced activity through Greenix programming and most ensures capabilities and connects and presence for code requires mangoes blockchains and the important systems of most systems and large amount assist and stored blockchains and moreover once they send transactions on the blockchains and the excited for they cannot not rebooked for most and bread and issues and normals for most and appears in storage on chains and mango moves on smart contracts language and cannot be completed in run in block and inventor has that inflated smooth on beyond mango moves on move for tools and have embraced and result be a mango move core designs concepts ensuring the smart contracts from the growth according solo missed and previous users does and as can imagines and for the launches admons launches has also made breakups and up and inventions and intense securities and different level just and fast issues and really means as digital actors and first-class citizenships, and the move is a smart contracts and languages designs. And for most modified digital assistant compared our others, the language moves on has more weight and lending tokens assist. And Mango's tracking assist and move lamp faced and specialist defense assist and security resources and designs for most and resources and the data resource must be stored and five for most appearance in likes for and assist for likes assist another address and repeated tokens for most appear in likes cryptocurrencies. As the other from tokens, deletifications and most appear like tokens for common duplications and most appeared in and tokens and degree doubles and the great and programmers and language and fit tokens limited for most where the assist and the assist are simply resources and security assist liquidations and local forbidden resources and the inspectioners concept and assist language and the levels boardings and generations and assist access of access for most appear in likes and upgraded contract for most secret contract and expectations for most and artist solution schemes the complications as and the inscriptions for most and solvently teams for complications and as an accelerated betucles for most in chains and the cryptocurrencies for most vibrations for most in like and bid commons errors and moves contract and code must be verified and before the excited issues and which the always configurations errors and the possibles attracts and the move has been commendated and stabilized and advocations are collecting for most from the very beginners and to standards and libraries for most teams and identities as intelligently divided developings and multi-levels and divided calls move contract verifications based moderators and the feasibilities and for most and the moderately smart contracts which in most implications flexibilities and others importance futures buildings and for most programmers language ecosystems and the combinations smart contract in the solventations, solvabilities, and other language ecosystems is primarily based on message spaces between interface and the mangoes over can based on the combinations and nodules and through the transfer. Mango says blocked in speech or got by contracts and no one hands and makes update is either on the other hands and the missed times of time and due to adoptions and liners. Hybrid carries selections, figure and influencing actions and directly for most concepts and definitions and the digital assistant clearly most appear in believers reasons. And mangoes for and mango and it is dominated programmers and based and experience for most appear in late experience and two languages for most and contract provided transportation based A by B by an FTS. New USBs and EBM show deletes and mangoes pools and participants code and like displays for most displays and current stage mode for reverse and now yearly limitations and the replications and fully approved my files and the secret analysis and 8500 and the other 6500 for most appears in mangoes and the verifications completed the ecosystems. One one four one nine one one four one nine one and breakthrough programming in moves on to like and distributions and noodles and the fun fractions for most and optimize for most and regroupations and like functions public infinity and assist window deposits for most deposits accounts B types systems and mango move due to assistance stroke the blockchains and programmers language of the blockchain smart contracts and must be provided securities and the greeners mangoes moves in programmers language designs of the blockchains head can and better security. Move provides for most appear in like and mangoes moves or provides and many systems of optimize and three first types of safety seconds and resources for most and verification tools and mainly provides and the advanced for most appear in like whereas and the Whereas the estimations type of structures we have most verifications pass singles most in unlike have and kind some straight and unfictionalist and the significance for most and first singles punctuations each others and the punctuation must address and confidence sacrifice the safely Samsung and the moves for most safely language for most in like and then type and repeat completed times and the imprint types can and not type safely and moves mango and moves on vibrant and strong systems and converse can done and situation and structures and type can knocks and the contribute for most appeared likes and most and types of each and the universe provides and mango moves and ecosystem type system that is chooses for most and it chooses safely and one is the ensures and societies and it chooses the mango abilities the coffees and due to defenders and the ensuring that the resources non replications and the abilities the two others abilities and most remain and possible are the case for the resources whether the appear in a functional disputes contracts live in most and in and where the resources should applications in modulates for most and developers cannot package and the mango juices holdings and debit mangoes moves actually and debited security request for most applicants. In the mango moves on language in court for most punctuations for in like and follows ownerships and rules and the restricted locals and verifications punctuations and be moderately modified and the only focus that any have any given stands at the same time the for global bill rate within the interrates and for their kinds and be owners of who can make change and the given step this is the issued and through mango moves and refrigerated safely. And it chooses safety and BI mango ecosystems and verification systems as new generation smart contract and the programmers language and moves and made the security is top designers and the close goal in water support and most and versions and financial instructions infrared and billionaires people worldwide and the worldwide securities and features for the move language into the levels and the language levels and virtual matchings and levels in totals the total and the promotional verifications tools move is and called of most move for reverse and the basics ideas and two users can or mitigations and mode verifications for most appear in like to in verification demand and whether programmers conflicts within the appear most in with the complications and pretense in like for most and decreased for most in the underresting programmers and to have directed here options and most verifications and programmers logics and the logics has speakers and count beings the verifications with the systems and Pokemon move defense on and move sacrifications language and translators in following the most and mango certifications language and translated following list and text in USA without expectations and the convert moves on programmers and sacrifice and the boogie programmer using swamp to boogie complications and immediate verifications language and formal snentopication. And the secret inventors and inventory structures allows for complex and such and the struct in multiple fields and the where the exist and the relationships and between the different fields and within the structs and the investments in struct allows for speculative and spectic science and the relationships and between the different fields which currently not abbreviations for type systems. Manga outline structures, inventors, and always specialized and completed relationships among the fields and structures type of. We have hold the determinants and the sets of sacrifice and start flash structs. When the insurance and the foremost contract relationships and the models for model extraditions and between relationship we are know this is not see this and the punctuation expectation down of focal first mangoes and moves on with the certifications punctuations and the expectations how to combination should we have the keratin situations including and the most spaghettis how to most and how to a functions should behave the keratin situations and the including how to I should presence and most appeared likes and when the conditions for most appear in big occasions situation including should and presence implications when it should and error and conditions is the triggered and expectations teammate and with which is a goals functions and sacrifications about conditions and the moves of robots and provides opportunities of express and functions transpegations of simplest manners. And following the functions and specifications for most appear likes and specifications the forced and function conditions force conditions running and shape programmer functions mango the preconditions and the fast functions and the false predictions which means and that the additionals as globals for most appear in like where is the when climbing and claims the punctuations for features must exist having a foundations when simply expecting and conditions the global inventors inventors types as properties and always remains and same degrade programs expressions immediately in one of them and objects of an implications. And this bit unchanged bellows and BII mangoes moderators black and the mangoes modulators and black is rarely scored and contract and layer and program it using the moves on language ecosystems and blockings punctuations into the different levels for most blockings and level network and chat travelings traditional blockings. and for most appear in likes and traditional functions and different levels for network optimize and like for most systems typical intelligence and confusion settlements data and the data and stability restrictions functions into the single for most appearing like increasing complexity demands and for most able meet the risk requirements and if different for most they score and punctuations. As functional models and the operation immediacies on while maintaining the collaborations between them the functions and progress and makes the backends the systems and block flexibilities securities and allowing the customers and optimize and different needs the moderators block hands for most optimize mango moderators and block hands the accuracy and the get features block hands and the two have done significant different outpins punctuations positions and the fast it necessary and fast and the most appeared in like to block hands to curlies. And necessary fastnesses and the care effects and for code and functions and blockings, examinations and transpirations programs and competitions, resolutions and for most appearing likes to crypto and in change and the part of the moderators blockings tracked by modulations and blockings and the blockings stacked by modulators and blockings abilities how for and functions into the multiplied. And difference blocking the simplifications and how the functions and the simplicate the moderator block hence for most for most multiplies and the most block hence for most and the defends each others and creators within the above compositions for most and ecosystems above the competitions confines and then the advantage and mangoes application block and the subrogation protections and already and manager for most and moderators and the we have services like and layer of most response layered and allows the brokers and response to hackers and attacks and push upgrade for most and specials blockchains and as a social contributions mentions and applications and lows cost and startup to of new blockchains because Bango moderators and the blockchains does not meet and the handles functions and new the blockchains and the can simply exciting moderators and blockchains for the configurations which they which unload and that allows for the applications broadcasters in like and blockchains reducing for most and right minimum costs and the scalabilities and restrictions and the punctuational issues. Solving scalabilities and measures reasons of most appeared likes blockchains with sacrifice and securities declines and moderators blockchains to limits for most like and the in and without the sacrifice and security declines for most and the makes of likes and built app systems and multi chains for most and inventors that The Mango's networks B multis and BM objects and the introductions and the network the Mango introductions layer the on public blockchains and most transactions and blockchains within the multi BM objects and instructions for most illegalities in Web3 applications on DPI products for most applied likes and networks for most appear in like province and plus developer can showing this. Optimize and break hands to embrace and the explanations for the date in our process and applications by sufferings, multiply smart contracts and languages by virtuous machines and for most different blockchains, the ecosystems and operating that features and flexibilities and business potentials for the legal scales and apps contributions for most scalable for subscriptions and will not falls and some dates and for most broad and blockchain ecosystems but they also provided and the market contributions continents and the rules in completing when the L1 files Mango becomes Mango pays and the expected instructions commit and effects and for transcription embedded object it is necessary for consonant protocols and our activities which may becomes and the obligations but it all leads and sized and high traverse consonant protocols and images for most built-in stage matches and the replications for most and the protocols introduce and stories only the publications for most appeared like in orders in the Mango system for most like expectation users determines for most and object dates in crossings objects in its number of most like and the crossings within the application. And interaction and summary for most summary and impressions and implications and second phase and of course you can versions and most versions and the investors and skeletons more transportations and the connectings and for most when the formations and the inventions and exclusives for most and formations transportations for most in life expansions and the inventors and including most transpirations and connectings for most appeared likes and transpirations community effects are ones for most and material spotted and ruined as the implications police and field or managers and multi-score and multi applications for in like for most state transpiration states and considered recorded are very losses and the expected sessions and look mappings and allowing the most types of likes and issues for most issues and optimize for most and the editions and like editions due to imported exportings for likes and eases are recovered and embedded conflicts critications and failures. Clark Ward, Bridget Jones and Meat Cheese Matrix audit Fedons the submitted April 2020 and originally announced in April 2020 resources safe and language for most and expedited managed core and ABS for 2024 for and languages for most and grapes and 2000 and bed of get chains and blackens are reveals and the safeties for most hours cables and sick dailies colonies and recharges for most complex and vivid capitals and metos montes and like look like mare ma killam and Rex advanced applications for most appeared likes in the cryptocurrencies in Address and the scripted 2020 the online payments and by mainly broadcast for most appear in the consumers for like annual IPETS for most and set systems networks and DS and 2020 applications and like Spain and July to 2020 David Deal and most for like for most requested likes and the cryptocurrencies and verifications and June 29 and July 20s IEE debit deals and obligations and games the jungling park and search for the federations and like first and smart contract with the Probas and 12 February 2020 submitted on 15 October 2021 originally this TTPS and ABS for most रे सर्वर को शो मैंने HTTPS grid and main labs and the Dr. Mostak and C cortitions and let are hard in like for most asset type refoot and most likes and credits and crypto refoots and the cryptos and most like and apparatus and the great and the applications programmers resources 2029 and developers point the resources 19B fees and DF blockchains debit bit says credits we huh? Gateway daily list among the MGOs sport trading stack and ETH for most like Launchpool's MGO Hollis get with the Mangoes networks and network for trading 9 and June on 24th and Mango ETCs and 5 ETC and 2 rewards for most MGO ETS Mangoes for likes airdrop distribute and every hours for most likes and the trading sectors and the MGOs 9 start for most like dividend trades and explications like MGOs and mangoes capital deposits MGOs and the managed deposits MGO launch for tracking periods like the June 18 the unlocking rules for most get instance for most and issues stands tokens take list and for most like just earnings reverse immediately spot and the most legalities and the reward distribution. The systems and will distribute tokens, reward in issues, support accounts and every hour based and the like assisted with the each users get launch push FAQs and most like how to participate and most identity verifications and like for most. Give me 1 second. Absent 12684 12684 12684. I don't know. And red launch boost get a 0.03 ts MGO clicks and the red exclusives tracking limited package and red users and BFE5 above the engine the exclusive in the participants in Launchpool with up to 50% and likes and BFE level BFE0 to BFE4 and most 300 used ETH and BFE5 445 ETH and most like BFE9 1350 ETH, BFE10 to 16 1800 ETH. The project information provide the Mango networks and MGOs and food manage and network in its directions, the introductions, monies and the multi BMs and on chains and the interactions primarily increasing the multi rate choice and SaaS app programmers users experience and liquidities in Web3 application defense and protocols that moves on of 6 and the on grave derivatives and supports and proofs change and the multi-bits and both support and BM move BM EBM SBM provides and uses the source and the modulates high for like tokens name Mango Spots and Gate teams and Gateway to private trade about 3600 private is quickly saved initially on Gate accounts now and climb up to 10,000 in welcome rewards and benefit 40% commission stay connected with the Gate official website and download the Gate official desktop and follow us on Twitter to more bonuses and our general Telegram community which chooses the friends topics and engineering the light rates and transfer security check out 100% approved receivers. Hey guys, thank you watching my live. I'll finish my live in now in 2 seconds.